The American dream often looks beautiful from the outside, but sometimes it hides a nightmare. Our story begins in a place of extreme wealth. It's a mansion with high walls and strong security. Inside this fortress lived a little boy named Kofi. Kofi was only 6 years old. He was a small boy with big, serious eyes. He should have been safe. He should have been in school. Instead, he was a prisoner. He was held inside the mansion with his mother, Aisha. Kofi and Aisha were forced to work for a rich white couple. The couple was ruthless. They kept them locked in. They controlled everything. They were trapped by high technology and deep fear. But the biggest shocking fact is this: the escape plan came from the 6-year-old boy. Kofi decided he had enough. He risked his life. He found a way out. He ran until he reached the police. But wait, the police didn't believe him. They saw a small, dirty African boy. They sent him away. The truth behind this rejection will shock you. It shows a deep, unseen conflict. It reveals a broken system. I'll explain why in a moment. Kofi didn't give up. He did something unthinkable. He went on strike. He fought back alone. He brought down the powerful couple. He freed his mother. The power of a child's will won. Let me show you exactly how this happened. We will see how a simple demand, "I need my mother," became a movement for justice. This story matters to you. It proves that courage is not about age. It shows that modern slavery happens everywhere. It happens behind the quiet, expensive doors of the UK and the US. This is a global warning. Aisha and Kofi were living in extreme poverty in Nigeria. Kofi's father was gone. Aisha needed work desperately. A white couple, Mr. and Mrs. Evans, offered them a job. They promised a better life in the UK. They promised school for Kofi. This was the first lie. The job was in the Evans' huge, secure house in London. The house was a fortress. It had high walls. It had electric gates. It had cameras everywhere. It was a prison disguised as luxury. Aisha was put to work immediately. She was the maid. Kofi, who was only 6, was also forced to work. He cleaned shoes. He fetched things. He worked for hours. This was the first shock. Mr. Evans was a successful businessman. Mrs. Evans was a socialite. They were always worried about their image. They told everyone Kofi was Aisha's nephew. They said he was visiting. This was their cover story. The Evans were ruthless. They controlled the phones. They controlled the internet. They took Aisha's passport. They said it was for safekeeping. They locked all the doors and gates. Aisha and Kofi were trapped. They were isolated. I'll explain why the strong security was their biggest weapon in a moment. The abuse was constant. Mrs. Evans would scream if a dish was dirty. Mr. Evans would punish Kofi for dropping a toy. They were constantly hungry. They were constantly afraid. They were stripped of their dignity. Aisha tried to protect Kofi. She begged the Evans to stop. Mrs. Evans simply laughed. She said, "You are lucky to be here. We saved you from Africa." Past bias told the Evans they could treat their help this way. Now here's where things get really interesting. The most accessible wow is the prison-like security and total control. The Evans didn't need chains. They used technology and paperwork to enslave their workers. The mansion had an electric fence. It had motion sensors. Every window was alarmed. Every room had a small, hidden camera. This was not a home. It was a high-tech prison. Kofi's job was simple but endless. He polished the silver. There were hundreds of pieces. He was required to wear a small, uncomfortable uniform. His workday was from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. He was always tired. He was always hungry. The Evans had 2 large, expensive dogs. The dogs were allowed to run free in the yard. Kofi was not allowed to go outside. He watched the dogs play from a window. He was a prisoner in his own small body. The dogs were valued more than the child. Aisha and Kofi were only allowed to eat leftovers. If they ate something fresh, Mrs. Evans would scream. She called them thieves. She said they were wasting her money. The constant hunger was a tool of control. It kept them weak. Kofi started secretly studying the house. He was 6, but he was smart. He watched the camera lights. He watched Mr. Evans enter the security code. He learned the house's routine. He knew the danger, but he knew he had to try. He desperately missed his father's memory and his old life. One afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Evans went to a charity function. The house was quiet. Kofi saw his chance. He had watched Mr. Evans enter the security code many times. He was shaking. He ran to the keypad. He tried the code. He was wrong the first time. The alarm nearly went off. He tried again using the pattern he remembered. Click. The lock disengaged. He ran to the front door. He used a tiny key he had secretly taken from a drawer. He opened the door a crack. He looked outside. He saw the high electric gate. He knew he couldn't open it. He found a small gap in the fence near the kitchen. It was only big enough for a small child. He squeezed through. He was free. He ran. He ran for his mother. If you compare this to a child's escape in a movie, this was real. This was a 6-year-old running on pure desperation. I'll explain why this escape was only the first, most terrifying step in a moment. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. The next major revelation is the rejection by the police and the child's brilliant response. This is the more complex mechanism of the crime. Kofi ran until he was completely exhausted. He was wearing only his small, dirty uniform. He saw a police station. He saw safety. He went inside. Kofi told the officer everything. He told him about the locked doors. He told him about his mother. He told him about the hard work. He said, "I need my mother. They keep her locked." The police officer did not believe him. He saw a small, possibly runaway Nigerian child. He saw the expensive address Kofi gave. He saw the name Mr. Evans. He knew Mr. Evans was a powerful, respected man. Past bias told the officer the child must be lying. The officer called the Evans mansion. Mrs. Evans answered. She was calm. She was charming. She said, "Oh yes, that's our nephew. He is a little troubled. He often makes up stories. He must have snuck out." The police officer accepted her lie. He told Kofi, "It's a misunderstanding. Go home now." He did not investigate. He did not check the house. He did not call child services. This was the ultimate failure of the system. The system protected the powerful. Kofi was heartbroken. He had risked his life. He was ignored. He refused to leave the station. He sat on the floor. He refused food. He refused to speak. He realized that running was not enough. He had to make a scene. He had to be louder. Kofi had seen people on TV protesting. He knew about strikes. He decided to go on strike. He walked to the busiest corner near the police station. He stood there silently. He held a piece of cardboard he found. He wrote 2 words in broken English. "Mama is prisoner." This was the more complex mechanism of his survival. He was working smart. He used the power of public opinion. He knew people would stop for a child, even if the police wouldn't. This sudden protest made him invisible to the police, but visible to the world. People started stopping. They saw the small boy. They saw the sign. They took photos. They posted them online. The story exploded. News spread fast. Thousands of people saw the picture of the 6-year-old on strike. An insider perspective here is important. A claim of domestic servitude is hard to prove, but a photo of an allegedly enslaved child protesting in public is undeniable. The Evans wealth could control the local police, but it couldn't control the internet. The pressure mounted instantly. Journalists called the police station. Non-profit organizations specializing in modern slavery got involved. The police were forced to act. They had to save their reputation. They had to investigate the mansion. The greatest challenge was the time. Kofi stood there for hours. He was cold. He was scared. But he held the sign firm. He was mastering the hustle of silence. He layered his facts like he layered his work. Simple escape, ignored by police. Then the context of the public strike. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. The climax is a massive, high-stakes confrontation. It happened right outside the Evans secure mansion. The police arrived at the mansion, but this time, they came with a search warrant. They also brought Kofi and a camera crew from a major news outlet. The media presence was key. It ensured the police could not cover up the truth. Mr. Evans opened the gate. He was furious. He tried to send the police away. He claimed harassment. He claimed his privacy was invaded. But the police had the warrant. They had the media. They went inside. The police quickly found Aisha. She was locked in a small, windowless storage room. She was bruised and weak. She cried when she saw Kofi. The moment was overwhelming. "I need my mother," Kofi whispered. This single line was the entire point of his fight. The police secured the house. They found Aisha's passport, which was hidden in a safe. They found Kofi's small uniform and the cleaning supplies he used. They found the cameras and the logbooks of the children's tasks. The evidence was plain and precise. The reframing of the story was immediate. It wasn't just a runaway child. It was forced child labor and illegal imprisonment. The high-tech security system, meant to protect the Evans, became the evidence against them. It proved the house was a prison. Mr. and Mrs. Evans were arrested right there. They were charged with holding a person in servitude and child abuse. They were arrested in front of the TV cameras. They were humiliated. The system that was meant to protect their wealth was now used to dismantle it. Kofi connected all the dots. The abandonment by the police was his low point. His strike was his triumph. His courage was the ultimate winning move. But wait. The biggest implication is what his small sign means for other victims. So what does all this mean for us today? Kofi's story matters now for every global viewer. It shows the power of public pressure when official systems fail. It shows that visibility is freedom. The short-term consequence was justice. Mr. and Mrs. Evans faced a high-profile trial. Their entire empire crumbled. Their reputations were destroyed forever. They were eventually convicted and sent to prison. Her long-term consequence is their future. Aisha and Kofi were given asylum and support. Kofi, the boy who fought back, finally went to school. His education was paid for by the compensation money. He became the voice of the voiceless. This is a lesson in looking past the surface. We must not let class and wealth blind us. We must believe the powerless. Kofi's story shows that systems of power can be abused, but they can also be challenged. A simple prediction is that Kofi will become a powerful human rights advocate. His story will be used to train police officers on how to handle suspected child abuse cases. He will change the system from the inside out. I'll explain why in a moment that the Evans' actions were not just about money. They were about dominance and control. They felt entitled to another person's life. They felt entitled to absolute obedience from those they considered beneath them. Kofi's personal takeaway is simple. Never rely on the first answer you get. His persistence after the police rejected him was his true act of genius. His strike was his ultimate legal argument. Past bias suggests that a poor child's word is worthless. Kofi fought this battle with a piece of cardboard and a simple, honest sign. He used the only tools he had. He layered his information: simple escape, failure of police, then the context of the public strike. Attention remains. The problem of domestic servitude is not gone. But now abusers know that a 6-year-old boy can bring down their walls. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. So, what did Kofi teach us? First, never let wealth shield abuse. Second, When the system fails, your public voice is your power. Third, the simplest truth is often the loudest argument. If you were inspired by Kofi's refusal to quit, hit the subscribe button. We explore powerful true stories like this every week. We look at the hidden mechanics behind global issues. Also, if you're interested in how technology is actually helping to fight back against this kind of isolation, check out our video on He Died Working, the mother who fought the American elite. Link is on your screen right now. Finally, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been ignored by authority only to find justice through unexpected means? Tell us your story in the comments below. Your perspective might be the focus of our next video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.